the process.
Sure. Okay, so last week we met with Stephanie, right? You said, yeah, of Tampa Bay, and they are using the points tracking module to keep track of scholarship points and assign scholarship points to their members that can be redeemed for various things. I'm not sure if they're doing this in Tampa Bay, but what I'm going to show you is a way that you might want to do this if you wanted to keep track of scholarship points so that people could redeem them for future event registration or perhaps free membership based on the number of points they are able to gather in a year, in a fiscal year. So what we did is on my test site here, I'm going to show you that I'm going to go to one of the people in my people membership and look at Jeremy here. And under Jeremy, he's got some points hours here. And he's got 5 points approved because he wrote a newsletter article in January and we assigned him 5 points for that. In February, he's got 5 points pending because he wrote a newsletter article. And this one was submitted because he worked the reverse trade show and he earned 10 points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the points tracking under the website and points tracking. And what we did was we created some categories, and you can create as many different categories as you want, and you can assign points outside of an event. So basically that's what we're going to do. So we've got this newsletter contribution that category that we created, and I'm going to give him, I'm going to assign him 5 points because he also wrote the March newsletter article. So I'm going to go to add points, and I'm sure for people who are using this module, you've seen this before. And this is where if it were for an event, you would choose the event, but I'm not going to choose the event. I'm going to select the member first. And then I'm going to type in the event. And I'm just, this is not a real event. So I'm going to put March 2026 newsletter. Let's wait a second to keep it consistent. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to put 3/1/2026. And right up here in the description, when I go to the newsletter contribution, I put in paren how many points that gives them just so that I can refresh my memory here. So I know right now I need to put 5 points. And I'm going to hit submit. And then up here, this is where you will find all of the points that you have. If I only look for submitted, which is, I believe, the default. If you go to this, it's automatically only going to default to submitted. I see 2 people or 2 that are submitted here, but I'm going to check all here just so I can see them all. And these have already been approved. This is submitted. This is pending. Let's see. So now we go to this change status. This opens up from submitted, and I can change that to approved. Okay. And then what I also did was, so now if I go to his people manager here and I look at his profile and I go to his points history, there we've got submitted, approved, approved. So right now, let's say we've got 10 approved and we want to make sure that he has 10 points in his profile that he can see that he has, okay? Now he can go here, but another thing that we wanted to make sure that you could, like, let's say he has 100 points total for the year, and maybe he needs 20 points to register for an event at no charge. Then what you could do is, what we did was we created an additional member data question. Now I'm in here in the back end as an administrator, so I'm going to click on additional member data. And right up here is, below is the total of scholarship points that you have earned in the current fiscal year. To redeem any points, contact, blah, blah, blah. So an administrator can go in here and say that he has 10 points right now and save. Now let's say he comes back and he says, I want to use 5 points of those. Then, so let me show you what it looks like for Jeremy when he's logged in. Sorry. Log in as a different member. So now I'm logged in as Jeremy. I go to my profile and I click on additional member data. I can see those 10 points, but it's not editable. I cannot change that. An administrator has to change that. So if he were to say, I want to use 5 points, then an administrator would have to go into his account. Go to his additional member data and change this to 5.0. Now here you can do a couple of things. You can also go to his profile and you can go to notes. Now the notes here is red. That means there's no notes in his administrator notes. So again, this is from the administrator side. So there's no notes. Once I add a note to his profile, this will turn to green. So I'm just going to put in here, Jeremy used 5, or redeemed, you could say redeemed 5 points, 3/24/2026. Save. And then see it turns to green. That's how I know that there's a note in there. And these notes will stay there forever unless you go in and delete them. And then what you could do is you could, either register Jeremy for his event at no cost, or you could go to the money tab and you can create a discount coupon. And let's say that discount coupon, I want to make sure I don't have a category. Let's use points redemption. In order to create a discount coupon, you have to have at least one category. So I created one category real quickly. I go back here. I want to add a coupon. And I can just put up here, Jeremy Hulsman, 5 points, 2026, maybe. Points redemption is the category. The activation date is today. Status is published. I can say that this is only going to be used for master event registration. It could be for membership dues or whatever you decide here. For this, I'm just going to put master event registration. Let's say the event is, I could either do, if I know the event is going to be $10 to register, I can do $10. Or if I want to give him free registration and I don't know which event he's going to register for, I can just put 100%. He's a member, so I'm going to change this to members only. If I only want it to be a very specific event, and you can't use it for anything other than event, I can choose that, and then I can limit it to one item, and I can choose which item that he can use that for. And then I can create a code, or I can allow Club Express to create the code. I might just do JH 2026 PTS, something like that, limited to, you can't do one, I don't know why, but you have to do 2 uses here. And then you can hit save, and then you just give him that code, and when he goes to register for the event, he can use that code to register, or you can register him yourself. Okay? Does that make everybody understand how to do that?
Yvonne, we need to show how to create that question?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what you do there is, that is under the People tab, additional member data. And here I just created a couple of basic questions, but the reason I created 3 is because I really wanted to show you how you can change the display. I'm thinking that you would want this points to be right at the very top. If you have a long list of additional member data questions in your member profiles, you're going to want that scholarship points earned. And maybe you're not using it for scholarship points. Maybe you're using this for something completely different, but you'd probably want that to be visible at the very top of the profile. So in case you don't know, you can change the display sequence by clicking on here, and you can just move these up and down. And once you get it to where you want it, you can hit save. And instead of going through the edit here, I'm just going to add a new question. I'm going to add a question, and this is new scholarship points. Now, I did this as an answer type as a number, because the only thing that's going to be in there is a number. But maybe you want to change that to a formatted text, like maybe long text. And you want to say something like current something like that. Put 2000. This is a way you could maybe put some notes in there instead of using the notes on the account. You could put some notes right into the membership additional member data question. So this member types applies to all. Visible, we only want the members to see this. We don't want the public to see this, so we would change that to member. We don't want the member to be able to edit this, so we change that to admin. And then if it's all member levels, if secondary members of agencies are also going to have points, and you'd want to make sure that you hit primary and secondary. And then hit save. So now if I go back to Jeremy's profile, let's see, I'm going to display sequence again. I'm going to move this one up and then hit save. If I go back to his profile, Jeremy, additional member data. So here again, I made this question a number question where all you can put in here is a number. This one I made it so that it's a text block. And here I could put something like, YK on 3/24/2026, 5 points. So there's a couple of different ways you can do this. And then this would, you'd probably have something like this, current total. And then you would have, and then once you redeem 5 points, you could change that to 45. And that way it's all in one space instead of doing what I did with the notes. That's one way you can, not have to use the notes. If you do decide to use the notes, there is a way to run a report on that. And here, I'm just going to real quick, I'm just going to go back into Jeremy's account to show you what that looks like now. And so again, I can't edit this. I'm Jeremy. I'm logged in as Jeremy. I can't make any edits to this, but you might like this idea better than this. But if you do decide to use notes, or maybe you use notes for something completely different, I want to show you that there is a way that you can run a report on notes in the control panel, people tab, reports. I believe it's this one right here. Let's see, member notes. So if you run this report, if you use those notes for any reason whatsoever, I'm not sure if anybody is using the notes now, but if you decide to use those notes and member profiles in the future, you can always run a report of member notes, and it'll be if you only wanted active members. And then let's just see if there's any notes here. So I'm just going to do this real quick. There's my one note that I have. That's the only profile I have that has a note. So it's another feature, if you're not using it, that you might want to consider using.
You can run a report on the additional member data too, right?
Yes. So on the additional member data, same thing. You can run a report on additional member data here, or you can also just go to additional member data and then export answers. I only want active members, export. Now this is going to run in a CSV. And I'll just drag this over. So here are the names of the members. And then over here is there's that 5 points. And then there's that note that I made in the other question. And you can sort, obviously, by answer in the CSV.